Hey, family! So I just want to bounce it off you guys first to make sure that I have it correct. So the Hordes burned down the first world tree and committed genocide against basically a bunch of night elf sprites and shit. And now we're going to team up with these same Hordes to go get a new world tree, but it's in a dream. And then we're going to pull it out of the dream and plan it to replace the one that they burned down. And this doesn't seem incredibly awkward to anyone else. It's just me. Okay. Another thing real quick, can we all agree that whoever did the profession rework needs their meds adjusted? Are you kidding me? Is this not the definition of overcomplicating something? I mean, I've got recipes going back like 10, 15 years now. And rather than consolidating all this and streamlining it, what they did instead was just completely overcomplicated. Almost a year into this expansion, and I've been playing more consistently than most, I'd say. And I'm only at 81 engineering. And then on top of that, there's all the specializations. It's just the very definition of overcomplicating shit. And again, I want to be clear. I'm not saying it's too complicated. I'm saying you didn't need to do this. What you needed to do was consolidate these professions, streamline them, and make them fun. And all this, holy shit. This reminds me of those forum posts where someone just states something like, what do you guys think that they should do with professions? And they only listed that out so that they could give you the 16 paragraph post they'd been working on till 4 in the morning. And you're like, dude, I'm not reading all that shit. I just want to craft some fucking rocket boots and gliders without having to go back to Northern Engineering to do it. But instead of fixing that, here we are with, just wow. So when we rework professions again, maybe make sure the dev team gets a little less caffeine this time. Thank you. So we need a lot more healers. And we damn sure need a lot more healers in PvP. And people have a lot to say about healers. They need more incentives. They need more balancing. They should do more damage. And the list goes on and on. But how do you actually create more healers in your game? Well, I have some ideas. I think that we can all agree on the best way to create a healer is to have them watch a Oklahoma video. I don't even think it's a question. The other way that you create healers is that you extract them from your DPS players. That's where a lot of your healers come from. Some DPS player gets tired of drooling into his CPAP machine and looks up for 1 second from the numbers or whatever he's chasing and realizes, oh, there's actually other people playing this game. What would it be like to play with them? And then they think, oh my God, what would it be like to actually help them and not just think about myself all the time? And it's a very uncomfortable transition at first, but then they jump on that healer and they get a taste of being a greater than, and then they could never, ever go back to the multitudes of less thans, right? They're a noble healer now, and the hook's in them, family, and that's all there is to it. You never go back, and you never leave me. You can know that. And so, with that knowledge, what does that mean? The first thing you have to do is put yourself in the shoes of a new healer. Look at the amount of spells and abilities I have just in my spell book. Then we're going to add all these talents and talent options that you can change between. And knowing which talents are optimal for which situation is also a learning curve. We also are going to throw in different types of PvP talents that are more and less effective against different classes. And you have to be aware of their talents and their abilities to know that information. Then, once you get that down, don't forget, you're also going to need to go get all of your add-ons, right? Your diminished return tracker, your nameplate bars. You got to make sure they don't overlap. That is a lot of information for a new player. And this is what I always say. Who are you making this game for? Because if you're making this game to get new players, these are considerations you need to make when you're developing the game. This is why my content is targeted for this type of stuff, right? Because we don't need another gladiator healer. If we never have another gladiator healer, level healer again, the game will be fine. But if we don't get new healers, it will not be. So, you do what you can, but even if you try to condense this information down to make it presentable, it's a 40-minute to hour and a half video. If you're really going to cover it thoroughly enough. And that's just a basic guide. That's not even going to get you started on everything you need to know about Arena when it comes to positioning, cooldown trading, and that skill set. So when you think about all the abilities, all the talents, knowing when to switch your talents, then the add-ons, and then all the things that you need to know from positioning and just the crowd control. I mean, you basically have a giant stress sandwich that you're ready to feed a new healer. On top of that, let's talk about gear. 10.2 Rise of the Rogues. This has been all my random battlegrounds since the Rogue rework is announced. So just get ready to fight rogues. So you take someone who's having to learn all of that stuff and you tell them the only way they can get the best gear is to go play against people that already have a good comprehension of all those things, have all those add-ons set up, and have for years now. Also, your job as the healer is to keep people up who are competing for rating. You cannot put people who are trying to learn how to play in the same environment as people that are trying to compete and expect to get positive outcomes. There needs to be game modes where you can just go learn to play the class and you can learn to play against other classes. And those game modes need to be heavily incentivized and they need to be a ton of fun. And there doesn't need to be some catastrophic rating drop or MMR or anything. The second you attach rating, MMR, competition to a game mode, you are inviting the legion of assholes that have ruined the other ones with all of their boosting, win trading, their shitting, making alt so that they can farm new players. You have to incentivize and encourage game modes outside of your competitive game modes. And if you're a new healer, stay the fuck away from competitive game modes. And this is why I say let my Conquest go. I don't understand why you can't fill this vault up. Why does it have to come from rated PvP? There are way more people that are likely to go heal in your random and epic battlegrounds, and yet you do absolutely nothing to incentivize them. I don't understand why you think people that Arena should have access to special gear that people that just want a random shouldn't have. I don't understand why the Arena players $15 a month is more important to you than people that like random battlegrounds. But it has been for a long time, and I think you should reconsider that. If people are playing in game modes where they're learning and having fun, then they're much more likely to get a little swagger. They start to get a little comfortable with their class and are like, oh, I think I might like to try Arena. And there's plenty of ways to reward Arena without having to hide the good gear behind it. Because what we need more than gladiators or good MMR or balance or any of that shit is we need more players. There's nothing wrong with people farming their Conquest gear in randoms, guys. The reality is the top level players can go into Arena and get to 2400 or at least 2100 in blues. Because there's a lot that goes into Arena that's outside of cooldowns, right? They know about positioning, cooldown trading, and they've done it just tens of thousands of hours, right? And that's great. They're awesome. But we don't need more of them. We need new players. And so if people can come into random battlegrounds, gear up their character, have some fun, and look, you could put seasonal incentives for, the amount of, you could have rewards for doing, I don't know, 50 million healing in random or in epic battlegrounds. You could have rewards for stealth classes for getting flag caps or flag defenses or what. You could reward tanks for getting flag. There's a ton of ways to incentivize and give titles out for things outside of competitive play. Okay, there has to be a space for new players to learn their spells and abilities where they're not completely stressed out. And that's what your random battlegrounds are. You guys are sitting on a gold mine with these random battlegrounds, but you won't give them any love. You got time to develop a new zone with a new faction and all this new shit, and most certainly a new fucking currency. Holy shit. And this isn't some hate on Arena. I actually love Arena. I think it's a great way to get better at your class. Probably the best way, because it forces you to understand it completely. Offensively, defensively, how it's, its strengths and weaknesses compared to other classes. It's a phenomenal game mode, and I love it. I also understand it's very stressful if you don't even know what your abilities do or what your talents really do. That's too much. It's not good for that. It's great for when you're geared up, you understand what you're doing, and you're ready to compete with other people who have some idea what they're doing. And you want to test yourself against other people that are competing. It's random battlegrounds. That means there shouldn't be pre-mades, and everybody should have the expectation that people are going to come in at various skill levels, various levels of gear, and various levels of sobriety and focus. And everybody's here to just have fun. We're going to do the best we can. We're going to try to achieve some of the seasonal goals for randoms, hopefully at some point, dear God. But then we're just going to be done and we're going to chill. Then, once we get comfortable doing those modes and maybe we've gotten the rewards from doing randoms, maybe we're like, hey, now that my guy's geared and I have some idea what's going on, maybe I would like to try one of the competitive game modes, like the new Battleground mode or Solo Shuffle. Look how awesome your Battlegrounds are with these big-ass castles and my boys here. This is what I find fun. And look, I'm not some Arena hater. I think Arena players are probably the best WoW players in the game. It takes a lot of skill to do all that. It's awesome. But it becomes awesome once you know what you're doing and you've got your gear. And if you'll let people and you'll give them a space to play their class, play with some friends, play with some other players, get comfortable using their cooldowns and at least getting some idea what's going on before they have to go into some competitive mode to get their gear or whatever. It's like you're much more likely to go in those modes if you feel like you have the gear and you have some understanding of what you're trying to do. And you're much more likely to have success that way. If the first experience, if you level up a healer, gear it up, and go get all your add-ons set up, and then hop into a solo shuffle, get blasted and then flamed, you're very unlikely to stick with what's going on. But, if we come up here and we lose the hanger, it's no big deal. And there's a ton of ways to reward this game mode that you're just not doing. And it breaks my heart because I think WoW PvP is fucking awesome. I mean, WoW in general is awesome. I really love WoW. Oh, it's crunch time. Here comes the herd of hordes. Get them, family. Let me get me a big old motherfucker. There, this warrior right here. You get in there, stud. Look, I could do all of these videos for any game, but I chose WoW. Not because, it's popular or anything like that. If anything, this is maybe the least popular it's been in a while, especially retail. But I think it's a uniquely awesome and fun game, truly. And I think WoW Random Battlegrounds are some of the most fun you can have in gaming. But what do you do when the developers don't feel the same way? And they just keep developing this game and all the rewards and all the titles for a player base that's dying in game modes that are becoming less and less popular. We love our T-Mogs, we love our ratings, we love our titles, but to be honest, we've got thousands of each at this point. The most important thing is that you have fun, and that you have so much fun that you may even want to do it again or try that class out in a different mode, or you may even want to level up another class and try them. The key to people playing your game, and this is going to be a real hot take, is people having fun. In closing, Warcraft is awesome. Healing in Warcraft is more awesome, and you're handsome as fuck. Okay, people ask, is it a good time to come back to World of Warcraft? Absolutely it is. It is also an extremely frustrating time for World of Warcraft. Okay, there's just two truths to the game right now. But I think a lot of us see the potential, and I think it's there. We're just waiting for Blizzard to unfuck themselves. And at this point, it looks like it may be a bit. But either way, you know I'm a sucker for a toxic relationship. I'll be here with you, family, till the end. Talk to you again soon. Oklahoma out.